Right. Yeah, so we got a few more minutes here, just waiting for some of the attendees to join in. But if you're coming in now, I just want to welcome you. This is our first how-to from home via Zoom. Yeah, we were very, very impressed with the response this week. So we've gone ahead and we're going to be streaming this live on Facebook as well to grow the capacity for our audience. So if you're joining from Facebook or Zoom, welcome. Great to have you. First, a few housekeeping notes. So if this is your first Zoom webinar, again, I'll repeat this at the very end. I know there's still some coming in, but you're going to be automatically muted and you don't have access to video. But we do want you guys to engage at the Q&A. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen there. It's a chance for you to ask questions, comment. Myself, Dan, and the panelists will do the best to answer all of those before the end of the stream today rather. As well, if you're on Facebook, you won't have that Q&A function, but you can obviously ask comments, and we've got one of our team members monitoring those as well. So we'll do our best to get to those, whether it's here in the call or after the fact too. Yeah, so again, if you're just joining, welcome. This is our first how-to from home. This is part of our how-to series here at Music BC, which we do all year round. And again, very impressed with the response. If you're tuning in from Zoom here or Facebook, welcome. Today's topic is leveraging live streaming platforms, episode 1. So we're very lucky to have some industry professionals from the electronic music sector as well as the streaming sector. We've got Tarun Nayar. We've got Zach Jaffe calling in from Los Angeles. Hey, Zach, welcome. Dan Scarcelli, who's the head of programming at Monstercat. And as well, our moderator here, Dan Turcotte, who is the commercial director at Monstercat. He's also an esteemed member of the Music BC Board of Directors. Love you, Dan. Great. So yeah, again, if you're just joining in, there's the Q&A function at the bottom. So please ask questions. Thank you for tuning in on Facebook if you're there as well. I guess we're probably good to go. So Dan, I'm gonna throw it to you there, and everyone enjoy.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, Jimmy. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Really excited, as Jimmy mentioned. My name's Dan Turcotte. I'm going to be moderating this panel today as we talk about strategies for live streaming, particularly as it pertains to electronic music. So hopefully the conversation today, you'll leave with a little bit of an understanding of how to throw a live stream. And then in the second half, we'll talk a little bit about some best practices for marketing and maximizing that impact. So without further ado, I'm really excited to chat with these guys. And rather than me introduce them, I'd like for them to introduce themselves. So Tarun, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and what you're doing in live streaming.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I'm just in the middle of doing a little Instagram post and tagging all of you guys. So I'll put that on hold for a second. My name is Tarun. I do a bunch of stuff in town. I've been a part of the Vancouver music industry for the last 20 years or so. So I sort of cut my teeth touring with a band called Delhi to Dublin, and we're still sort of touring. But I also run the largest South Asian music youth festival in Canada, which happens once a year out in Surrey, and we do a big block party for 10,000 folks. And I also run a record label that's focused on, I guess, kind of the edgier side of South Asian electronic and rap music and whatnot. And so we're just in our first year. We're new. We just celebrated our first birthday. And since COVID has happened, obviously all gigs have been canceled. And so I was telling Dan yesterday that we pivoted pretty quickly to like figuring out how to stream all of our stuff. And so we've been activating daily on Twitch. Had messed around a bunch with Restream and, synchronizing streams to multiple places, and have kind of hit on our golden, what seems to work best for us is pairing up Zoom parties with Twitch streams. And so we had 1,500 people come through our Twitch party last Saturday night, sort of in a more South Asian bent.
Very cool. Thanks for that. Dan, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, about Monstercat, and about what you guys are doing in live streaming?
Yeah. So my name is Dan Scarcelli. I work for Monstercat. I've been here for about 7 years, I think. And my main two projects are our weekly radio show, which is Call the Wild. And then with that, all of our live streaming platforms like Twitch, Mixer, Facebook Live, and then some in China like Huya and VK in Russia. Over the last couple months, our live streaming programming has really picked up. So I've been spending a lot of my time right now really trying to build out the different types of live streams that we have on these platforms and try to build out a linear based programming because we have a 24/7 live stream. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing live streams from yesterday. We had Corella. We started off with Infected Mushroom, and then we've done some production and performance streams.
All right, great, thanks. And last but not least, Zach, tell us a bit about yourself, about Beatport, and what you guys have been doing.
Hi, I'm Zach Jaffe. I'm the Director of Marketing and Product at Beatport. I'm based in Los Angeles, California, and many of you probably know Beatport's been around for 16 plus years as the home of all forms of electronic music. And as a music store and a place that people come to get music for DJing, we've found it super important to do our best to support the electronic community in all shapes and sizes and forms that it comes in throughout these extremely challenging and uncertain times. So we've done a couple of major events called Reconnect, where we were raising money for the WHO's COVID-19 Health Fund, and as well as the Association for Electronic Music, the AFEM, which is actually kind of the trade body for the electronic music industry, and their hardship fund, which is going to workers and organizations within the music industry who maybe can't make payroll or are having trouble with some expenses related to the crisis, to help keep their staff on. And so that's a bit of a grant process. We've raised over $270,000 for that over the course of 2 streams. Both of the streams were 37 hours plus. And we'll talk a little bit more about what it's like to put something like that on as we go on. But I've been in the music industry for about 10 plus years, officially, unofficially, probably much longer. And it's nice to be here with you guys today and talk about how we can do our best to help the artists and the community moving forward.
Great. Yeah, you guys have been doing some tremendous work, and the charity element is something that's really hitting close to home for me. So I'm really respectful of all the work that you guys have done, but I think it's a great segue. So let's start with the basics. All right. How do I throw a live stream? Dan, can you talk to me a little bit? What's the hardware? What's the software that I need to get going?
I mean, when you get right down to the basics, basically you need a video encoder, and most people are using OBS, which is a free program that you can download. OBS Studio is what it's called. With that, you can also get another one, basically a reskin of OBS from Streamlabs, Streamlabs OBS. The benefit to, let's say, Streamlabs is that they have a really nice alert system. And what alerts are is every time an event occurs inside of a platform, let's say Twitch, let's say you have a new subscriber, a new follower, someone has donated bits, someone has donated money. These can all trigger animations that happen on screen, which kind of enhance the visual look of your stream. So you got OBS, you got Streamlabs OBS, and then there's one that we're exploring right now, and it's actually by Vimeo. It's called Live Stream Studio 6, and it kind of brings you into this it's like a video mixing. It's more for if you really want to get nice transitions and bring in custom. Oh, there's my cat. We actually placed a bet right before this how soon it was going to take.
About this.
It's the beauties of working from home. So Studio 6 is another one that you can use, and there's other ones that are out there as well, and I'm sure some of the guys may know as well.
Mm-hmm. Tarun, how's that compare to how you guys have been setting up?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, yeah, you need a video encoder, and the first thing we did when the COVID lockdown was on the horizon, this cat drama is just
All right.
I think he had some technical advice, actually.
Yeah, he's just trying to get in there.
This is awesome. So the first thing we did was try to vacuum up as many. Sorry for all the folks who went to London Drugs and Best Buy and tried to buy Logitech video cams and stuff right after COVID, because we went in and just tried to buy everything we could and all the green screens and everything because we could see the writing on the wall. So I think video encoder is great, and also if you want to have a really tight stream, having a good webcam that can do stuff HD, having adequate sort of computer support, as well as a green screen, like a real green screen can be amazing to kind of add a lot of quality and depth to what you're doing.
Just want to add something to what Tarun was saying. A really good piece of gear to pick up is Elgato's Cam Link. I think it's 4K, and basically you can plug in any sort of high definition camera right into a USB, right into your computer, and use that as a camera source. So I know a lot of video game streamers have been using this. It's very easy to set up, and you get a really nice high quality image.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so I've got my encoder. I figured out my audio. I'm ready to go. How am I handling transitions? Zach, maybe you can speak to that. This is something that you guys did. You had 36 artists. How did you guys manage that?
37 actually.
37.
Yeah. So 37 hours. I think we started at like noon PST and ended at 1 a.m. The following. So on noon PST on Friday and ended at midnight on Sunday. So transitions like that are quite difficult. And from a technology standpoint, I can't really speak much better than Dan and Tarun have talked about what you need to set up than they already have. That's, that'll get you started for sure. One of the unsung parts of live streaming, I think, though, especially when it comes to transitions, dealing with large artists and their teams, audio quality, sound quality, testing that, what happens when you have a dropout. There's nothing better than people technology. The real secret to doing something that massive is hands, right? Having lots of sets of hands available to help you. And, you can do a really quality live stream by yourself with all of the tech that's been discussed before. But when you're going for something a little bit larger, I'm sure that, Dan can probably speak to this since he's going 24/7 right now. It's really important to have people who are moderating, who are testing with your streamer beforehand, because everybody's in a different place, different internet connections that have different peaks of usage, and their connection may be stronger or less strong at different times of the day. I'd be able to adjust audio levels on the fly and using that benefit so that when you have issues, there's something to fall back on. What we use actually for transitions, I'm going to do a little plug for our friends at Pixelate right now. We use a company called Pixelate who has a software called Push Live. That's push.live. And Davey Brown over in the UK, shout out to you. He is a tireless individual who really helps us with those transitions, and their software, which is available through using them to help you with your stream. They work with everyone from us to Insomniac, I believe, and their software is probably the best, hands down, that I've seen when it comes to broadcasting to multiple channels, creating and queuing up the next session, creating your transitions, allowing you to put in interstitials, capture your sets. There's really nothing better than that I've seen. That comes at a cost, obviously, but not everybody is flush with cash right now. I think that's a given. But I go back to my earlier point of we're pretty fortunate in that we're a large company, and we have a lot of people to help out doing the artist bookings, the relationship management. And so, I'd say having fallback positions and making those transitions as seamless as possible really relies a lot on the expertise of the people. I think somebody's asking, what was the name of the platform? It's push.live, I believe is their website.
And just to kind of go over what Zach was saying, I think what he was also getting at is, yes, you can do a live stream just from your laptop, just one person, and that can work. And you know what, you can have a really amazing stream that can get thousands of people. At the same time, though, it does take work. So as much as it can be done with one person, when you are dealing with multiple points of contact, like different artists, different presenters, different people, you have promoting support, or you just have a lot of attention on your stream, it is going to take multiple people to run this. It's going to take also days of prep time. It's going to take testing. It is a full production.
Yeah, it's similar to broadcasting on TV, really, especially when it comes to the bigger productions that you guys are talking about. I'm also friends with Nick from Westwood, and I know they've been doing stuff with Shambhala and YourEDM.com, and it's basically that you turn yourself into a broadcast, like a TV broadcaster, where you're switching in between streams, and there's a whole other level of complication there.
And
I think shout out to the funk hunters there. I like that.
I think that's a good point. This idea of solo influencer being a broadcaster. Something I wanted to ask you guys about is, where are you finding success? If we're acting as a broadcaster, I imagine everybody here is simulcasting to multiple different platforms. we talk a little bit about what platforms you're having success on, and maybe some of the unique challenges that are presenting themselves on each one of them? Dan, maybe you want to start us off?
Sorry, I was just answering something in chat. Can you, if someone else wants to pick up, I can jump in.
Sure. I was just saying, Zach, go ahead.
So our VP of Beatport Creative Services, Ed Hill, came to us from 10 years over at Beat TV, and I got to give him credit and his stream team at Beatport Creative Services for really being the mastermind behind all of the work that we've been doing, and he really ensure that broadcasting to every platform possible is what we do. So we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube. I'm sure we are going to end up getting some other platforms going. With that does come additional work, however, because you're going to add moderators to each of those channels. You're going to add tech support, for each of those channels. You're going to have to hook up cross-posting for each of those channels. There's plenty of additional work that comes with going on different platforms, but by adding in different platforms, you're giving more people the ability to see what you're doing, because even though Twitch is thriving right now, especially within the community that we probably have on this call in Monstercat, I know you guys have been active on there for many years. It's and somebody's saying, is there any point to being on Instagram? Yeah, absolutely. I believe right now you can't really broadcast the way that you can with the other platforms with Instagram. So I suppose you could always set up your phone doing Instagram live, but audio quality is super important for these things, and the audio quality I've found varies from platform to platform. And also, which something I'm sure we're going to talk about later before I end this lengthy drawn out point, is the legal ramifications of each platform and the licensing does seem to vary a little bit based on what deals these platforms have with the majors, how big your channel is, what relationships you have with the channels or with the platforms that you're streaming on, and what type of music you're playing. That can have a big impact. But I would say, blast it out to as many as you can if you have that ability.
I think it's a really good point. The liability is something that I think maybe we're going to touch on in a future session, as we've got a couple of these how-tos planned. But it's definitely anybody on the call who's bootstrapping this or thinking about creating their own live stream. It is something you need to be conscious of. And like Zach rightly pointed out, there's different implications on each platform, and there's different ACRs or automatic content recognition that exists on each one of these platforms. And so it's something you need to think about before you just plug in your CDJs and start broadcasting live on something.
And I think there's also no right or wrong way here. I know that here at Monstercat, we've tried multiple approaches. We've tried diversifying all of our streams, trying to get every single one to hit a different audience, and that works. However, sometimes when we have done live streams in that manner, you just need to be ready that your views are going to be spread out. So you're not going to see a congestion all on one platform. You would have to look at it at a holistic version. But at the same time, there's some instances over the last couple of weeks, we've been really trying to just focus on one platform and really try to drive all those eyes. So I don't personally think that there's a right or wrong way. You just need to be considerate of where you're hitting those platforms. And if you're rebroadcasting, to have content that can work on each one. So for example, if we're going to go to Twitch and Mixer, but everyone is just answering questions from Twitch, well, it's going to annoy another platform. So you need to be aware of that. And then someone mentioned about Instagram, and at the moment, from what I have seen, you cannot send a feed directly to Instagram like you are on Twitch and other platforms. However, a lot of music streams are using Instagram as this backstage or behind the scenes feed, very similar to how some people use Facebook, where it's a window to see something that's going on and then entices you to maybe go check out the high definition stream or the stream on YouTube or whatnot. So you're just kind of pairing different platforms to bring in people and focus them towards another platform.
That's a really interesting idea of having multiple perspectives, kind of going back to this idea of, us as broadcasters, right? And this idea that, not only are they going to be watching the live stream, but they can maybe see another perspective that they wouldn't have access to. Tarun, where are you guys putting a lot of your attention? Is it mostly on Twitch?
Yeah, I mean, so just to use the bootstrapper word again, we are totally bootstrapping, and compared to Beatport and Monstercat, we're total noobs, and I think that might be an interesting perspective to bring to the table because we just jumped into this 5 weeks ago, and so we tried everything at first. We tried doing Instagram at the same time as Facebook, same time as YouTube, same time as Twitch, and what we're finding is for our particular demographic, they resonate with Twitch more. And this is despite the fact that none of them were on Twitch before this started. So it's actually kind of confusing. We tend to have a younger demographic, so Facebook is not as resonant for them. And on the Instagram tip, just following off of the success of people like D Nice, for example, like massive streams, like 20,000 people watching him at all times of day. The iRig 2 and the iRig stream are like super useful if you want to get high quality audio into your Instagram feed, and we've been messing around with that. So if you did want to actually have like a high quality, not like BTS kind of a vision coming from Instagram, you can always send a separate audio feed in through one of these little devices that gets you so you're not listening to ambient sound on Instagram, you're listening to high quality sound.
Great.
But Twitch is our guy at the moment for whatever reason. I don't really get it so much, but it's what seems to work. And Twitch paired up with a Zoom call has turned out to be magic for us.
And one last thing too, what some people are doing, and we actually do this as well. You can, and there's platforms out there. One of them is called Maestro. You can actually take a bunch of your live streams and just put it all in one hub, and then just send your audience there, and they can decide which platform they're going to watch on. Just like with music, we do this in music all the time. Not everyone's on Spotify. Not everyone's on Apple Music. There's different audiences there. So if you are going to do multiple streams, maybe just package it in one way and they can make that decision. And in terms of restreaming, we've mentioned this platform already. Restream.io is it's for the price comparison of restreaming. I personally think it's one of the best valued ones out there, and it works really well. Other platforms like the Studio 6 that I was talking about actually allows you to send multiple feeds right from that computer. That's just going to come down to your own personal bandwidth.
Yeah, that's great.
I think if I could put a cap on that, I think what we're all saying is there's really no wrong answer right now. There is something that's going to fit for everyone, whether it's one person in their closet or somebody else with a whole team of people at an entire organization who's helping put something together with some more of a budget, right? And we're in the Wild West right now. This is, we're in week 7-ish of this new paradigm that the industry finds itself in. So you're going to see new platforms come up. You're going to see new methods of monetization. You're going to see new methods of streaming. And I think the key is to just keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, listen and watch what other people are doing. Listen to people like Dan and Tarun, who are doing this literally every day, and see what happens, because none of us really know.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think I kind of want to shift our gears here. So we've talked a little bit about kind of how do we set up a stream, and it sounds like there's a whole bunch of options, and hopefully people have gotten some value out of that. What I want to understand is how do we cut through the noise? How do we market ourselves with so much going on right now? And I think Beatport's done a fantastic job, and partially that was because you had such power weights behind the event. But how are you guys making sure that people are actually finding your streams?
Most of our marketing, fortunately for us, was organic because we had people like Macioplex and Mode Selector and Tiesto and David Guetta and Deborah DeLuca and Louisa. I could go on and on and on. Doing the Nita Kravitz, Nora En Pure on the stream, the artists with massive reach. So when someone says, hey, I'm going live on this place, you're going to tune in there. And organic reach is good if you can get it, because one, you're not going to be expending any money. So use resources that you have. I don't really think there's a huge benefit personally. Even, I'm speaking as Beatport, right? Which is obviously a massive organization with considerable clout in the electronic music industry. And so people are going to see the things that we do. But considering there's not really a huge monetization of streaming right now, unless that you're specifically selling something off of the back end of your brand, I would worry about spending too much money on ads to bring people into your stream. And I also wouldn't really worry about how many people you have initially, right? You could be streaming to just your small group of friends, but if what you're doing is good and entertaining, that word will get out, right? Or they will share. I watch tons of my friends stream beyond what we're doing and say, oh, hey, like pass to my coworkers, check out my buddy Cody right now. My buddy Mint was doing a live stream, shout out Mint, in New York yesterday. And it was awesome. He had, he was down in the studio, he was playing some smooth hip hop, and it went from like 30-ish people to, 100 and something people by the end, just organically. So I really wouldn't worry about spending too much money if you're just starting out, or any at all, on reach, and trust yourself and trust your network. And if it's good, the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah, just kind of adding what Zach said. I think that the non-glorious response here is that you need to be ready that your numbers are going to move really fast. Like I'll be completely honest. We've done streams with 200 people. We've done streams with 13,000 people, and that literally shifts really quickly. And I think unlike any other event that we're throwing, like in a live event, you're not going to get 5,000 people show up to an event in a second. But on a platform like Twitch, all of a sudden, if you get noticed and it goes on front page, you will get 5,000 people within a second. With that, though, the truth is it's going to come with consistency. And I think Zach said that you need to really be consistent with your streams and let anyone that is following you know that you are going to be doing these at this said interval. That's the only real way to kind of build up and give this confidence to your viewers that they're going to come back and experience more. So I do think it comes with consistency. You do need to also just understand that your views are going to move around a lot. Sometimes you could just luck out and get a lot of people. Some days you can put all this time and effort into a stream and you may not be getting those same numbers. But it's delivering good content every single time, and that will come back to help. And I know it doesn't sound like the most like surefire way to do it, but that is something that I've personally learned over the last many years. And that's something that is that we're really trying to keep.
Mm-hmm.
I would add on top of that, before we throw to you, Tarun, what we're doing is, I think Dan said this earlier, we're one of you, Dan's, like it was Turcotte or Scarcelli. We're creating appointment viewing, right? That's what we're doing. We've become our own television stations and networks, essentially. So by creating, and this is what live TV has done forever, right? And most of us watch our stuff on demand now on Netflix or Amazon or DVR or whatever it is that you're using. But this specifically is appointment viewing. So, like I know some people who are doing this really well are the Desert Hearts crew in LA. They have a literal schedule Monday through Friday each week of what streams are going on at what times. And so people can put that in their calendar. They can create Eventbrite links. They can create Google invites where people know, oh shit, it's 3:00 on Thursday. I'm going to take my lunch break now and watch this stream, because that's something, and that goes back to Dan's point of consistency. So think of yourself almost like your own little TV station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there's just one thing. Sorry.
No, you go for it.
Really quickly, I just saw someone mention something, if there was a boost in terms of SEO. Something that I have noticed too in the last couple of weeks, especially on Twitch, I'm just going to talk about Twitch for this particular point. There seems to be this viewer tipping point, especially when you look in the music category, which right now is amazingly popping off. And it wasn't that case. But about 600 to maybe 800 viewers, if you can surpass that, you get yourself right on the top of the music and you start seeing more views coming in throughout your stream. And with that, you need to keep in mind that when you're live streaming, this is not a 30-minute event. This is like minimum 60-minute event. I would even push for, 2 hours. It's kind of your average there, because you need that time to be sitting on a feed, get some viewers, and then to kind of grow.
Well, I mean, why not just go 37 hours like Zach?
Yeah, why not?
Tarun, what role does
I actually had
regularity
a full head of hair when we started the live streams, and then I looked like this by the end.
You're one of the slickest quarantine looks at the moment, Zach. Congratulations. I need a haircut so bad.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah. I was going to throw in this idea, and, you know, speaking as a performing musician as well, I'm aware of the sort of flip side of this, where people are now starting to get booked to play other people's Twitch streams or other people's, you know, live stream events. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that in a second. But I mean, it kind of brings up this idea of there are so many independent little communities that are starting off streaming at the moment. And I think as we're a small channel, we have, like, you know, under 500 subscribers. So it's really important for us to be connecting with these other channels, especially, you know, if you're on Twitch, this idea of rating channels. So when you finish a broadcast, you can take all of your audience and bring them over to another channel, which is a really nice way when you're starting to be, like, thinking about, just like you're a crew in Vancouver that's throwing parties, like you're working with other communities and you're staying in touch. And there's also on Twitch, as your numbers start to go up, there's different sort of levels, which give you different kinds of access. So you can turn into an affiliate and then a partner. So I think this idea of, in the beginning, making sure that you're not just like anything, like real life, you're not just trying to put yourself out, that you're really aware of who else is around you and who else is doing similar things, and that you're working with those things, and that maybe you're playing those other festivals, because when you are bringing your thing, once you've sorted out all your kit and it's looking good, and you bring your set to other online festivals, I mean, those folks are going to then start, like, coming back to your own streams, just like in real life. So
we actually, go ahead, Dan.
Sorry, Zach. I will also mention that there are some peak times, especially on Twitch as well, that it's just good to be mindful of. Every day, Twitch viewers and live channels will swell, and typically it's around the PDT time. 1 p.m. PDT is when Twitch typically sees the most viewers and the most live channels. After that 1 p.m. PDT, it's going to start to drop all the way till about 8 o'clock p.m. PDT. But there will be more channels going live after that 1 o'clock to catch that wave. So there's pros and cons there, right? You try to go for that 1 o'clock, you're going to be in a sea of so many different streams, but you may get more people noticing that. So you kind of have to play around with those times and try to figure out, maybe a couple hours before, an hour before, try to catch the tail. But we have noticed that, and that is something to be mindful. And right now it is actually going up on the weekends. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays are really good.
I was going to say, going off of what Tarun said about using your network and riding the wave of rating other channels, one of the things that I know that we've seen, and we've been doing streams with different festivals as well. So we did Movement last weekend. We're doing a series with Drum Code called Drum Code at Home, which are all considerably long streams. We did Carl Cox's awesome Soundwave last weekend. We did Patrick Topping for 4 hours the other day. During these streams, especially on the weekend, so let's say from noon on Friday until Sunday late, people are treating these virtual events as real life events. They're partying at home. They're on separate Zoom calls with large groups of their friends, engaging that way. And when streams start to end, you see people going, where's the next stream? Much like if you're at a festival and going, which stage are you going to next? Or when the venue party ends, like, where's the warehouse party? Where's the after hours at? So people's mentality haven't really changed, especially if they're raging at home, into like wanting to keep going. So I think, what Tarun said about working with your network and maybe arranging, if you know that other people that you're close with, you can set up separate streams, but you could work together to stagger them and say, okay, well, I need to go to sleep because I've been streaming for 6 hours, but I know my friend is going up next, and you can pass the audience over, because as we all know, we are in the music industry and people love to keep partying.
I think this is a good time to work together too with other labels, other brands, other DJs, other people in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that I've really enjoyed seeing, is just the role of community that's been coming through. We talked a little bit about how we can pass viewers between streams. Is there anything I can do on stream to keep people interested and keep people online?
Engage with chat. That's like number one. You need someone in chat. If they ask a question, you need to either answer it or show a reaction to that. Because by you doing that, you're going to encourage more people to react in chat. And it's going to create, it's ultimately going to create what live streaming does so amazingly that a live event cannot do, is that there's this instant transparency and connection between the performer and the people in chat or watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you can have a mic, like definitely get a mic, because when you see the comments come up, you can shout out people, you can talk to them about, you know, whatever is happening, whatever the topic of conversation is, because people will really respond to that.
If you look at the model of D Nice, who I'm just such a huge fan of him, all of the club quarantine stuff that he's doing, check him out if you haven't already. He actually has like a live ticker of people who are donating to his various causes. And every time someone donates, he'll give them a shout out on the mic, which is right next to him, which is like super interactive. And also, I guess, just in terms of directing people back to one place, like us, if you don't have a ton of subscribers and you want to consolidate them all in one place, we let people know if we are restreaming on multiple platforms that we only take comments. We're only responding to chats or whatever on Twitch. So there's sort of like a little bit of a benefit to actually going to Twitch, as well as on our Saturday night streams, which are South Asian. And we do tend to like do requests and stuff because there are songs that, you know, people want to hear. You can only request on Twitch. Yeah. We won't take requests from any of the places.
Depending on your platform, a lot of people too will have chat for followers only. So in order for you to chat, you need to be a follower. And that's a very quick way that a new channel can build up its followers. And then the next time you go live, we'll be sending out those notifications to those followers. So.
And do I have to do this all manually, or are there software solution bots? Are there things that our viewers should be aware of?
Yeah, I think someone actually just mentioned in chat too about modding or just keeping track of things. I think Zach or Tarun mentioned it earlier. It's very much encouraged that you should have someone monitoring that chat, keeping track, mentioning, dropping links, dropping information, telling people what the stream is while you're streaming, because it's going to be very difficult, especially if you're DJing or if you're doing something else, to monitor both. Unless you've been doing this for a while and you are able to do that, because you've seen a lot of video game streamers very competent and familiar, but even them, they still have moderators as well. There are bots. Most platforms have their own native bot that you can use for censorships, timed messages, commands. On top of that, there's also things like Nightbot. There's this other one, Bottissimo. I mean, if you search, you know, YouTube bots or Twitch bots or Mixer bots, you'll find them.
And yeah, I know this isn't going to apply to a lot of people who are doing like, you know, a homegrown, homebrew, grassroots stream with just a few of their friends to start out, or, you know, a smaller group. But as you do increase, be aware that this is the internet, and especially in, I think I've seen more of this on Twitch and YouTube than I have on Facebook, since Facebook, you're logged in with you are logged in as a person. They can see your profile and all that. Twitch and YouTube, you can be more anonymous, and, you know, sexism, racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, that stuff does happen, especially when you have a larger audience of people. And it's important because the communities within these streams who are active in there and are not bad actors, and, you know, don't make no mistake, there are only a small number of bad actors, but the community does notice if your stream is poorly moderated. And people will send you messages and say, you know, like when we're going for 37 hours, you know, there might be a couple minutes where somebody needed to go, you know, use the restroom or eat a sandwich in between, you know, sets or during sets, and maybe a comment went unnoticed, right? And people do get upset when they see these things and it's not, you know, banned or muted or moderated. So it's important. And on that respect, when you're engaging with your audience, really simple, you know, the golden rule: remind them to treat people how they want to be treated, and say, you know, keep it positive, and you know, thanks to everybody for being here, you know, really appreciate you being nice to each other. You know, stuff like that sounds really self-explanatory and you know, sophomoric, but it works.
That's actually such a good point. You know, as much as a lot of us here feel we're new to the space, this is actually not a new space. Though we're doing live streams, let's say on Twitch or YouTube, these audiences have already built up there are areas that they've built up a lot of very positive behaviors. And I think for us to come into this space now, want to really kind of flourish it, we need to respect what is already there and really be mindful of the conversations we're having, how we are moderating our chat, and really encourage positive behavior.
Just to jump in on a related note, and also to acknowledge the fact that there are some really interesting possibilities of doing things on Instagram Live. I'm following the model of United Masters, who is doing open mics on their channel on Instagram, like almost every night, it seems. And the format is basically they host the Instagram Live, and then people request to join, and they tap people in, and you get like 3 minutes, or you can drop like 16 bars. And there's usually, hundreds of people watching. So we started doing this for our festival, and I've been spiking it with some like A-list people who have millions of fans. And so they come in, and when they come in, they'll bring in like 1,000 followers when they join. So it's a great way to get a look for your channel. But it's also dangerous because, if these people have followers who are crazy or whatever, as soon as the next person comes onto the open mic, there can be a lot of, like bring the other person back on. And so we found that we've had to have like a person that's just like basically booting people out who are misbehaving. And if we didn't do that, I think we'd lose the respect of our community. So again, it comes back to like having hands on deck. Once there's thousands of people involved, it can get complicated really quickly and out of hand.
I think we had 2 moderators per when we were going live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. We had at least 1, maybe 2 moderators per channel, like for like 4 to 5 hour blocks. And that's just moderators, right? Mm-hmm. That was just moderators. Cause I think, during some streams like Rufus Soul, Bob Moses, Grizz, we got into the, 40, 50,000 viewers range just on Twitch. So, and you could put your chat into slow mode. Right. And even then that still doesn't really help when you have that many people in there. And, I doubt most people are going to have that problem of needing that many people running their streams, but it just, it goes to the point of once you do start getting traction, to prepare yourself to maybe add in a little bit of additional help.
Mm-hmm. And also moderators can be an excellent opportunity for you to build up your audience, your fans on there. Like moderators can be fans. These are people that you can promote to this role, and it really creates this very unique hierarchy. Maybe hierarchy is not the right word, but really unique positions that people can fill. And that just adds to your fan base. So I think there's something very positive you can pull from moderators. It's not necessarily, we need someone now, just this is their job. Like give that role to a very dedicated fan.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting idea. We always talk about how you just need to have 1,000 diehard fans, right? And that's enough to make your career. So that's something Monstercat's been doing with selecting moderators from the fan community. Mm-hmm. Tarun, is that something you guys have thought about?
So on the festival side of things, our moderators and hosts are all just volunteers from the community. They're not people that we hire. They're like people who are really stoked. And that goes the same for our blog that goes every week. It's all crowdsourced. I think one of the things that I forgot to say about Instagram Live is because this is kind of focusing on electronic music. One of the things that we've had is when we're doing these open mics on Instagram Live. And what I love about Instagram Live is just that it's so immediate and everybody's on it. So it's a little easier to just do something like that than it is to try to get people to go to Twitch, especially if they're not, native Twitch users. But you can get producers to play their track. So like play us 3 minutes of your track, and then everyone's sort of commenting on it like, oh, that's fire. So it doesn't have to be like a singer or a poet. It can actually just be like people playing bits and pieces of their tracks.
Sure.
Nice.
All right, guys. So I'm conscious of the time, and I want to kind of get into this last area before we open this up to questions, but it's an important one. Is there money in live streaming? Is that the point? Dan, what are you thinking? A lot of artists have lost income because, obviously tours and live events have shut down, and people are touting live streaming as kind of one of the solutions. Should we be looking to monetize? Is there monetization available?
I mean, there's definitely monetization. At the core of it, platforms, for example, like Twitch, like Mixer, like YouTube, you can monetize your content. Those usually require you to enter some sort of partner agreement. Now, a lot of those have changed over the last couple of years. I believe it's a lot easier to do it. You just need a certain number of followers to get a nice sub badge. And then it comes down to you to really activate your audience during those streams to be increasing the amount money that you're making from them. They come from ad revs. They come from, bit donations. There's Sparks, I think, on Mixer. I can't remember YouTube at the moment. And then straight up donations, depending on how you want to present this. These donations can go to you. They can go to a charity. They can go to the artists. That was something we also have been doing over the last couple of weeks, is that, we'll bring an artist onto our stream and donations can go to them. In other cases, we put them towards COVID. And for Earth Day, we put it towards a reforestation partner. So you compare these different areas.
Mm-hmm.
So,
sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No, Tarun, by all means.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, speaking again from the artist perspective, I feel like, and I've been talking with my agent Grant, and I know that, all the agencies around the world are sort of like, what the hell do we do right now? Like, no money's coming in. And I was like, dude, just wait another couple months, because people are going to start booking artists for their streams. And I've already seen it happen. And I know that I've already made offers, not only for our stream, but for the online festival that we're planning at the moment. And so, like, as for the initial month, everyone's just like playing everywhere, but it's already, I think, at the point where people are becoming more selective about where they're playing, and those fees are going to start rising. And so, even though I think it could be the same as putting out music, I mean, unless you're really lucky, your streaming revenue is not generating tens of thousands of dollars. It's generating, like cash to go buy out some fucking jelly beans or something. But where the money really is in gigging. And I think that if you can build up like a solid profile and a look for what you're doing, and I think it's a great time to be doing that, there is potentially revenue for you gigging at these other festivals and stuff in the future. Hasn't quite happened yet, but that's where I think it might go.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really crazy time, and that I don't need to say that for everyone to know it. I'm a promoter myself. I have events that I've been throwing with a group of people for 10 years down in San Diego called Ego Trip, big Burning Man party, like 1,500 people 3 times a year. I was booking my June event when this happened. I was getting ready to book all of my Burning Man. I also work for a company called Desert Hearts, doing booking for their festival, which is a 72-hour house and techno festival that does not stop at one stage. I work with artists and managers all day long and speak to them. And the bottom line is there's nothing that's going to replace touring revenue right now, right? So it's about supplementing that and figuring out how to best do that. I think right now, yes, you can monetize your channels, things like that. Tip jars are great. I know people who are getting offers in the $1,000 to $5,000 range to do festivals, to do streams. So the drips and drabs are going to come in as especially brands come into this. Like, don't be surprised if like Lysol suddenly is presenting a live stream. Like, I'm not really like, I'm kidding, but I'm not, right? Because brands that have money to spend right now, like a disinfectant company, are going to look at spaces like live streaming for advertising and say, okay, if the Monstercat stream is getting an average of 10,000 people a day on their stream, well then, okay, let's see if we can put some money and branding behind that and do an actual advertising campaign, much like I think like Electric Zoo has, I believe, like a T-Mobile stage or something like that. So when that happens, and I know that that's like super faux pas in the normal times, like who wants to play, the McDonald's, Burger King live stream or festival, right? Like no one wants to play that in real life. You're not going to be on the Arby's stage at the festival. Like, you're going to be, your manager, you were going to be like, no. But right now there are going to be entities that are going to be looking to put money into this space, and I think people are going to become a lot more open-minded to doing corporately sponsored streams, and I know that's the direction that a lot of stuff is going to go in. So there will be some money, and not as much, obviously. Touring revenue does not replace, cannot be replaced right now. It's just, which is heartbreaking. And there's going to be, a lot of people were asking me, how do I gate my stream, right? How do I put this behind a paywall? right? I see Dan shaking his head. And I think that the answer to that is not here yet. And a lot of people are trying to create platforms that specifically are like a virtual ticket in order for you to get in to watch the stream exclusively. And people are going, oh, who do you think's gonna to win that battle? Is it gonna be a new company? Maybe it'll be a new company, but as with all technology, I think the big players are gonna be the ones who are most well adapted to do it. You know, Twitch already has Prime, YouTube already has Premium, Facebook Live, I'm sure could really implement something quickly, where I would not be surprised if these larger platforms created via their premium accounts, channels that are only accessible if you have that premium account. And then which in turn would monetize your channel through those platforms, because those platforms have the money and the ability to do that quickly and already have the audience. So that hasn't happened exactly yet, but if I'm, you know, looking into my crystal ball of what's happening, that would be my biggest prediction, is seeing some of these larger platforms gate content.
Yeah. And I think what we're getting at too is there is monetization methods in place on a lot of these platforms right now. In terms of the way the music space is using it, we're very much in this new era. So there's not this set path to take yet. I think what would be very important is to look at the content that has been living on these platforms well before this: video game streams, live, lifestyle streams, and consider what has been happening there and how can we apply that, or maybe what's a completely new way that we can be taking this. It's the beauty of live streaming and digital and online spaces is that literally overnight we can create innovation a lot faster than let's say an actual event. So what's coming in the weeks and the months to come is really going to define this.
For maybe the folks at Monstercat, and Dan, feel free to answer this question. Can you talk to us a little bit more? I know this is not, maybe it's not technically streaming, but can you talk to us a little bit more about VR and what you guys are doing on Wednesdays and how you see that, you know, sort of playing a role as things unfold?
Yeah, that actually could have been probably a bigger topic we could have talked about. There is an area that this is still very much in an infant stage because we haven't seen it happening too much right now, but VR events are a thing, and those allow you, for example, if we did want to talk about ticket gating or bringing a ticket, this allows you to ticket a user to achieve some sort of virtual experience that they would not have been able to. For example, and just kind of quickly get in what we've been doing is every Wednesday, our radio show is broadcasted to a platform called Sanzar, which is a VR room, which they've built out a stage for us. And then we've actually done a few VR concerts with them in there. And we've sold, it's free, but we've sold a $5 ticket, which would allow you, you know, an extra platform that you would get access to. You would get certain dance emotes. You would get anti-gravity ability, super speed running. So like things that you couldn't do in real life, but now you get this ability. And it would be it's a lot easier to kind of justify that in terms of a ticket than, let's say, okay, it's $5 just to get into this event. So one more thing I just want to add, there are a lot of, I do think we're going to see more VR events coming through. And the biggest hurdle right now is the access to these events. Sanzar, you know, you can hop in with a VR headset. However, you can also hop in on a desktop. However, they are working towards getting this on mobile and then getting that beyond just the platform. So I think that's a big hurdle in terms of VR right now, is just getting someone into this room. Once we can break that, I think we can get more people.
Guys, I think we could spend hours talking about VR. I know there's a lot of exciting things that are happening there, but I do want to save some time for some questions. So Jimmy, I don't know how to bring you back on here, but I think you were coordinating some of the questions. Can you read them out to us?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's been lots here, guys. So I just want to remind the audience that we'll be recording everything asked in the chat here, as well as the Q&A and on Facebook. And when you do sign off, a reminder as well, there's a quick survey. You can leave some feedback and, you know, say thanks to the panelists. Normally we have a bit of a round of applause here, but we'll use our imagination, guys. So yeah, we'll definitely be making sure to answer all the the great questions, and definitely around like monetization, around copyrights. Those will definitely be topics for future sessions week to week. So again, I'm seeing a lot of good questions here. First off, I did a live stream festival with 46 artists over 3 days, but I was the only moderator. Is there a way to use multiple moderators? I think this was for Zach, but I think maybe anyone can talk to sort of that process.
Yeah, you just give somebody else the login. Holler at your homie and let them know that you need their help. You can have multiple people logged in on, all platforms. Twitch and Twitch, you can just have different people logged in your account. Facebook and YouTube, you can just have give them access to your channel as an editor or admin, and you can theoretically have as many people as you want in there.
And
Same goes for Restream.
They have a moderator role that you can just assign a person, and they will have access to mute, timeout, and even block people.
Perfect. Next question. Again, this is more going into sort of rights and usage and copyright, which again, I think will be a great topic for a future session as well. But in terms of copyright for DJs on live streams, where would you argue the responsibility falls for permissions on tracks used? That's a big one.
So this is a nut that's very hard to crack, right? So I'm sitting here in front of a Denon controller and a record box controller, both running Beatport Link, which is a live streaming service for DJs, right? You can connect and play your music out on a live stream with every single track that we have in our catalog, right? Can I tell people that they should live stream doing that? I'm not going to say anything there. But there's some really interesting services out there that are going to do a lot to help people accurately report their sets and get that money to the PROs, the performing rights organizations, for these performances. And I think that is going to be one of the big keys, going to monetization, is making sure that all of us who are live streaming or running live stream events are reporting our set lists as though it were live to the PROs. Because if we're doing that and artists are making money off of the reported sets, whether it's streamed from a streaming service like ours or played from a file that you own, the more that we're seeing revenue come in to these PROs, the more likely it is that we're going to have less issues with copyright enforcement and limitations. Because it's, in the end, right, what do the major labels care about? They care about money, right? That's their bottom line. It's, I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but they're businesses, right? And a business has to protect its intellectual property. So making sure that we're opening these new doors to set list reporting will really, I think, bring down the barriers. And then, of course, Turcotte mentioned earlier that like each platform has different copyright recognition on their automatic copyright recognition on their platform. So some are harsher than others, but putting on my lawyer hat here, I'm not going to give you any advice, but I would say be careful and report what you can, and try to find some setlist reporting tools. I know there's a company called Muzuka, actually based up in Canada, that's doing some interesting stuff in that regard.
Mm-hmm. And so is Kuvo as well, if that project.
Kuvo, of course.
Yeah.
And from the bootstrapping perspective, we've definitely found, we have more luck with Twitch than we do with any other platform in keeping our stuff up. So
that is very true. And I think that will probably change a little bit. We love Twitch, and they're an amazing partner, but they are kind of newer to the live streaming space for music specifically. They really only entered that space, officially less than a year ago, putting a lot of effort behind it. So I think as the labels, shift their eyes to that platform, you'll see a little bit more of the muting and takedowns like you do on YouTube and Facebook. But we're kind of still in the infancy of Twitch as a major music streaming player.
Jimmy,
Jimmy, you're muted.
rookie. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's a huge topic, and again, we've discussed this in on our side as how we approach that conversation. I think, we could go on with that, but it's definitely going to be, I think, a topic that we'll touch base in like next Friday or multiple Fridays in. It's a big thing. It's a growing process as well. It is 12, guys, but do you want to stick on for a few more minutes and answer a few more questions?
Not a problem.
Awesome. You mentioned consistency and having a regular daytime each week, but you also discussed saturation. When live performances go back to in-person events, do you see people wanting to pay to see shows when they have been getting to see these artists for free weekly? That's a good question.
I think that is a really good question, and we'll never really know until we do get back to live streaming. I would say, though, that there is, if we do this right, there is exchangeable feelings and experiences that these two mediums won't ever cross over. As much as it's amazing to be so engaging and instant and accessible online, you're not with that person, and that's not going to replace being at a festival show. So I don't really have an answer for that, but I think we're going to see in the months to come.
Tarun, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that we're building, because let's face it, like the normal that preceded this was not awesome for most musicians. I mean, it's awesome for some musicians, but there's a lot of people who are struggling. And if we can build some resilience into what we're doing now, whether you're an electronic artist or in a band or whatever kind of music you're making, if we can build, I think being like having a sustainable career in music, speaking as somebody who's been making a living in music for over 20 years now, you need a bunch of different things happening at the same time. Like, you need to kind of diversify. And if we're building a more resilient industry now and having multiple ways in which we can communicate with our fans, and if we're really like, in the last 5 years, our whole team has had to learn, like basically did a master's degree in live streaming. And if we can sort of like focus and really, like get up to speed on this whole other way of communicating with our fans and building community, then I think that will help us when things go back to normal, because we'll have other alternatives. We don't have to just be limited. If we can't get into frickin' Vogue on a Saturday, or the Commodore's not going to book us, be like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to have 3,000 people here, and we're going to have ways to monetize it. So I think it's about resilience.
And just kind of adding on to that too, prior to this, when a lot of our music events went live streaming, we have been live streaming events. And I remember for years we've tried dabbling with this idea of having chat have some sort of reaction to what's going on at the live venue. Maybe a command can actually trigger a CO2 cannon or something. But prior to this, still Twitch or even live streaming, it wasn't a household music name. After this, imagine going to a festival and you just already are very familiar with these live stream events. Like, that conversation and those sort of initiatives are going to just be a lot more robust. And I think that it's going to encourage a lot more innovation and just creativity around it. So I think they're not going to cannibalize each other. I think they're going to just create a better experience, even just as being a musician or a brand, just being able to adapt to both of those moving forwards.
Yeah, I'll just add on that. It's like if you're an agent, right? You're not going to book your artist playing in Vancouver 12 times in 3 months, right? There is a such thing as oversaturation. But if you are doing something daily, weekly, or something like that, you can make it a specific experience that will build on the experience that you're going to provide when people are able to release all of their pent up, I haven't been going to a show frustration for what's conceivably going to be a year, right? And Tarun, what you said, really about the music industry working for some people, but not all people. I sound like Bernie Sanders. There is a really interesting point and opportunity in that the live music industry, electronic music industry is an amazing space. At the end of the day, though, it supports very few people. And I'm talking very few people. When you're in this space long enough, you end up realizing you're speaking to the same people over and over again, whether it's artist managers, agencies, festival bookers, things like that. So I think at the end of the day, there's an opportunity here when we move from this live streaming world that we're in right now back to the regular world, to look at the things that our industry did poorly. Healthcare, discrepancies in payment, sexism on lineups, and underrepresentation of minorities and women, safety standards, things like that. We have a really great moment right now to sit back, press pause, because we're being forced to. And when we're ready to re-enter society and we're allowed to have shows again, maybe we do things differently.
Yeah,
And,
I agree with Zach 100% on that.
Well said. Yeah. Next question here. I think this one's more for Tarun. Will you be able to expand upon the success of pairing a Twitch stream with a Zoom party?
Yeah, so thanks. That's a great one. And just to clarify, we totally ripped that idea off of Club Q. And as usual with life, it's always queer folks who come up with the good ideas first, and we just copy them. So respect to Club Q. And so the way that it's worked for us is, again, with this idea of we're not trying to stream on every platform at once, because it doesn't work that well for us. We end up having Facebook will have 21 people and Twitch will have 300, and it just looks bad to have 21 people on Facebook. So we're just come over to Twitch. So what we do is Jimmy, can you help me? I haven't eaten yet today. What the fuck were we talking about?
Zoom,
yeah. So what we'll do is the Zoom link we'll start a Zoom party, and it will be like us, like this. Not everyone has access to everything on the Zoom. We'll mute the chat. And so we'll put the Zoom link to the Zoom call, and we have a Zoom Pro account, so we can have up to 1,000 people on it. We'll put the Zoom link on our Twitch chat. So you have to go to Twitch to check out the Zoom link to get into the room. And then we actually have an admin on the Zoom call, and we do dance parties or dance battles. And so we'll give people 15 seconds, and all of a sudden you'll see yourself on the screen, and you'll have 15 seconds to do your thing. And then we actually buy the best dancers and the best dressed people food, and we'll get it delivered to them during the actual event. So we have a restaurant in Surrey that's ready, and at 9:30, you can check this out on Saturday night on twitch.tv Snakes and Ladders. At 9:30, the battles are happening. We choose a winner, and then we get the restaurant to deliver it to the people while the call is happening, so you can actually see the people eating. And we give out prizes like bomber jackets and t-shirts and stuff. So it's a way of I actually think on this note of what's going to change, I actually think that there's some things that the online space does way better than real life, because I think that from looking at these people's houses, they're actually having more fun than they would be at a club. They are so lit, and they're safe, and they're not going to be drunk driving, and they can just go to sleep in their house. And a lot of these families and South Asian families are multi-generational, so there's moms and kids and everyone's dancing together, and it's just a good vibe. And I think that we've even been talking about how does this move forward, in the future. Can we do some of the community events and stuff just on Zoom? Because I think it's so low overhead. We're not spending money. We're not bringing in huge production and LED screens. We can do everything with green screens for $200. So there's a lot to love about it.
That's so cool. Big heart, Tarun. Thank you. This one might have been more for us at Music BC, but I'll see if you guys have a comment here. As a festival organizer, I and many others in my role are looking for support, so looking for new staff. In transitioning to an online program, what is the recommendation on where we should start this search, and clarity on a description of the role, who we should be seeking, kind of those resume tips? So I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that.
I can just briefly mention something, because right here in Monstercat, we've had to had a big switch from our events to digital events, and there is a lot of work that's needed in coordinating. Just like an event, you need to reach out to artists. You need to be sending tech specs. You need to be sending even content plans for what's going to happen on these. If you have a charity partner, you need to be reaching out to those. The tech and their ability, it depends on how you're going to do the stream, if you're doing a pre-recorded or if you're doing a true live. But the biggest thing that you're going to need to lock in is them being competent and stable enough to send you a signal. There is a lot of upkeep in that dialogue and conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone from the technical side of things, right? So somebody who I guess you would call, a technical manager, who is sending the signal or making sure that the signal is received from the artist, sending the stream key, doing a test before you do the stream. By all means, do a test before you start your stream. Check the levels, check the consistency of the audio. That's a whole department, right? The other department is, your typical artist relations role, right? Who's communicating with the artist team, which may include 10 people all of their own, right? An artist is not just one person. An artist is one person with a team of people behind them making their career happen. And then, of course, you have people like the moderators. So people who have really honed digital skill sets. So digital advertisers, people with Facebook advertising knowledge, YouTube advertising knowledge. Those are the types of people you would be looking for in this space, as opposed to typical like grunt work of building a stage or setting up a sound system.
Mm. Awesome, thank you. And again, that's something whoever did ask that question, that was a great one. Us at Music BC, we're always here to support that kind of process with our members and with the industry. So that's an email for me or our team too. Switch gears to more about resources. So what is the best website or document that you found that highlights best practices for streaming, industry trends, how to accomplish this? So kind of like a bit of a boiler on what we talked about today, if there is such a thing.
I wish I had the exact link on me, but there actually is. Twitch has put out one, and someone has posted kind of like, I really wish I had it. Hopefully I can send it.
Yeah.
I think I have a link that I can share. Somebody sent it to me a few weeks ago. It's been up for a while now. There's a company called the 6 a.m. group that did a really great how to and the specific equipment and software that you can need and use, and it's platform specific. I think I have my computer up here. Yeah. If you Google, hold on, 6 a.m. group live streaming resources 101.
Perfect.
That's a really neat thing that I've just been sending around, and Sean Horton, who's the founder of Decibel Festival, helped put that together. So he knows what he's talking about.
Awesome. Yeah. And if Dan, if you've got one as well that you know of, I mean, that's something that we can definitely follow up with anyone here in the call today. And add that to our resource page on Music.
Yeah, those are great. There's been a bunch of them that have been coming out, and it's just amazing that now there's this fully document that you can go through, where years ago it was just kind of you learn as you go, which I still encourage a lot of people to do. I think at the end of the day, you just need to just start streaming and you'll start learning a lot.
Totally. Let's switch gears here more towards kind of marketing. So one question is, I've noticed many artists are not creating actual events, I guess it's on Facebook, of their streams. Would you agree it makes the most sense to gain engagement by creating an event, inviting your followers, and then treating it like a normal show? Or those kind of strategies?
Yes.
I think treating it like a
Absolutely.
residency is the way that we're doing things. Like Friday nights, we have like a residency on the channel, and then Saturday nights a residency for this DJ, and inviting guests and stuff, but definitely treating it like an event. Sorry, Zach, you were going to say?
Yeah, it's goes back to like the program viewing aspect of it, or appointment viewing aspect of it, and just treating it like an actual event, because you wouldn't throw a show without telling anyone about it, right? And it's really also a scalability issue. How large of an audience do you have versus how many people do you want to be in the stream? So like, I'm sure if Beyonce suddenly started live streaming right now, all 5 of us on this call would somehow know about it within minutes. Twitter would explode. If you're that big of an artist and you just start doing something, people are gonna show up, they're gonna appear there. So if you're not Beyonce, right? Or you're not, David Guetta doing a jackback set that we had, you should probably let people know that it's happening, and so that they can schedule that in their literal time of their day.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Well, even though for us with this first session that we're on today, I mean, that's how we treated it. It came together like Tuesday, and it was so easy to see, and using those same tactics of, boosting, sharing, getting a few different co-hosts. I mean, I think the same things apply for what happens online as well as what would happen on a stage.
And just on the boosting and treating it like a show thing, I have found that just, over the last couple months, that it does tend to, like with a normal show, you might publicize it like 2 weeks out, but it seems like timeframes for streaming events, you can be a lot, it can be a lot tighter, and it can often be more impactful to be like tomorrow, or, remind people a lot, because people's freaking attention is so fickle. So pound people a lot more than I would for like a real life show at the
Yeah.
or something.
I would almost say too, like, definitely let people know ahead of time, not too far ahead of time, because these are online events. Like, there's no actual physical dependency of them being somewhere or commitment, right? It's just, hey, yeah, I'll be at my computer, I'll go check it out. And let people know that you are live, right? When you go live, let people know that. Don't just expect that they saw that an hour ago. And expect, oh, I lost my train of thought, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we got time for one more question. Again, if you didn't have yours answered here in the webinar, we'll be recording everything. I'm going to circulate it with the panelists here, and we'll get that documentation up. If you're registered as a member here of the call, you'll get that in email. We'll also post it on Facebook. Okay, last question, guys. Pre-recorded versus live. What is the answer for streaming here? Is there an answer?
There is not an answer, especially when you're dealing with lots of artists in lots of different locations. I talked about this earlier, and I know Dan has also. How fast is their internet? How busy is their internet at the time? What sort of hardware are they running on? When you're running something like a reconnect, like we have one tomorrow, as I just shamelessly plugged behind me, with the legends of drum and bass that you can see there. Most will be live. Almost all will be live. But when you have people who, and also sometimes people have children, family members in the house, and you're just, life gets in the way, right, of being able to do, and technical limitations. So by all means, try to be live, but there are going to be some instances where you're going to have to, suck it up and do pre-record. But you'll find if you do enough preparation ahead of time and enough testing, it won't be as necessary.
It's a very interesting question. It's kind of like asking a producer if they use lots of reverb or not. I think you just need to, there's definitely ways to making a pre-recorded event feel live. And I think that's where the importance in that question is. And that comes from engaging with chat, having someone in there, having these alerts and things that we were talking about, let's say through Streamlabs, happen on screen, even though it's playing a pre-recorded video behind. And you can also have an event that has pre-recorded content, but there's a live host that's going to bring you from content to content. Doing a fully live show is going to add to that, just like the experience that this is happening live. It is going to be very, you need to really keep track of a lot, and there's a lot of margin of error. So I mean, I would encourage people to try both. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. There's very creative ways that you can do either or.
And just to jump in at the end, I think it's always important for us to remember, as, most of the people on this call are probably musicians or DJs or producers, like your average person consuming content out there does not give a fuck or know what the difference between a live and a pre-recorded stream is. They just don't. It's like when people are like pretending to play instruments on stage, like 99.9% of people don't know that. Sorry for just being like a little cynical here. Do not know that like those things that Odessa is hitting on stage are not connected to anything. And the knobs that they're turning aren't doing anything. Like people just don't care. So I'd say, like, if you're not going to go live, then at least make sure it's super high quality. I personally, everything we do is live because I think it's more exciting, but I don't think most people actually care.
Yeah, I think in the end of the day, for our Reconnect stream, like the first one and the second one, everyone had planned on going live, every single one of the 37 artists. But I think, like, for instance, Nina Kravitz, her whole system in Moscow, like, crapped out right before she was supposed to go on, and we had to have our product marketing manager Justin play a set when Nina was supposed to play. And Justin's a killer DJ, and shout out to him and his wife LaFleur, who's also a killer DJ and performed on Reconnect. So having that backup, right? Having somebody who can hop in when somebody else, if you are going live and you have a lot of people planned, have a backup plan, whether that's a pre-recorded set or not. Definitely have a backup plan, because you don't want dead air.
Totally. Well, Dan, Tarun, Zach, this has been fantastic. I think, this is a smashing success, and I'm very excited to do this again week over week. So, yeah, again, virtual round of applause, guys. Appreciate your time.
Yes,
thank you.
Thanks to Music BC. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome, guys. Well, again, if you're tuned in, thanks for watching. We'll be back with some more information on questions that we didn't answer today, as well as more info on next week's session. And again, just keep tuning in and keep your head up. It's going to be a really interesting and exciting time. That's all for me. Any last words, guys?
I think that it's very interesting time in the sense that we get to really create what's going forwards, and there's so many good ideas in chat, and I think everyone that's watching, there's amazing things that we can do, of course, and I can't wait.
Be kind to one another.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think to really just appreciate, for those musicians who aren't at the top of the heap, who aren't in the top 1%, like, this is a time for the other 99% of us to take advantage of disruption and make shit happen. Like, it's the Wild West, and so have fun, make cool shit.
Yep.
100%. Right on. Well, gentlemen, enjoy your day. Tarun, get some lunch in you, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you guys soon. Bye.
Take it easy, everyone.
Bye. Right on. Yeah, that worked out so well.